بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, I'll keep it at 30 minutes. For some reason, I did bad math yesterday and I looked at the clock and I thought it was 30 and it turned out to be 40. So inshallah, I'll keep it at 30 minutes for the night on the weekends. So today, inshallah, we continue with Surah Az-Zukhruf. And we stopped yesterday at ayah number 30, inshallah. They do ayah number 31. I'll just begin, and I think it's important. Now, the reason that at the beginning of each of these halaqat, before I start kind of explaining the surah, I take a moment and try to remind you of what the purpose or the theme of the surah is because it makes it's easier to understand the surah if you have an idea of where it's going, what it's trying to talk about, or what message is trying to convey to you. It's just easier to comprehend, and I think the earlier generations of the Muslims whom had a command of the Arabic language that was strong enough to the point where this was bread and butter for them. It just made sense. They didn't need this to be pointed out. They didn't talk about this a lot, but I believe for our generation it's a little bit different because our command obviously is much weaker. So kind of pointing out that the surah exists amongst a group that are talking about something similar, and that the theme, the purpose is to warn us from a certain way of thought, which in this case is a very materialistic approach to the world and to life itself. And we stopped at ayah number 30. I'll recite a few verses afterwards and then I'll explain inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقالوا لولا نزل هذا القرآن على رجل من القريتين عظيم أهم يقسمون رحمة ربك نحن قسمنا بينهم معيشتهم في الحياة الدنيا ورفعنا بعضهم فوق بعض درجات ليتخذ بعضهم بعضا سخريا ورحمة ربك خير مما يجمعون. These two ayat, these two verses, they talk about the issue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has pointed out here again, after He gave us a few examples with the Arab and their problem with women, and He talked about al-aba'iyya, which is just following whatever the forefathers did, regardless of whether there was sense to it or not, just based on the financial benefit. And He gave us the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his struggle with his people who had the same problem. وَقَالُوا لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنُ عَلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنَ الْقَرْيَتَيْنِ عَظِيمٍ. And their problem was, one of the problems of Quraysh, or the people or the Arab, is that they said لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ, only if the Qur'an was descended upon رَجُلٍ مِّنَ الْقَرْيَتَيْنِ. الْقَرْيَتَيْن basically are the two towns. The two towns are Quraysh and Ta'if, or Thaqif and Hawazin is the second town. عظيم. It was, this Quran, only if this Quran is great, but only if it was revealed to someone who was عظيم. صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم هو أعظم خلق الله ولم يخلق الله سبحانه وتعالى مخلوقا هو أعز عليه منه ولا هو أحب إليه منه ولا هو أعظم قدرا ومقاما عنده منه صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم وآدم منجبل في طينته. No one is, comes remotely close to the status of the Prophet ﷺ in any form or manner. And this is before Adam ﷺ was even created. The Prophet ﷺ status is written on the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But this is what they said, only if the Quran was just revealed to someone who had of greatness, azim, that's the word that they used. And the question becomes, well, what exactly does azim mean to you? Since you're saying this, so basically what they're saying is the Quran is great, well, the stuff that's in it is nice. But we're not going to follow someone who lacks wealth and status and male children, which is the three things he lacked, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his life. He wasn't a king. He wasn't the leader of Quraysh. He not someone who had a lot of wealth, and he wasn't someone who had a lot of children, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why they called they actually had the audacity to say abtar and use that word when describing him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, it just shows you the same problem. It's this unidimensional way of seeing things. They are judging greatness based on one metric. It's just one metric. Do you have wealth? No? Okay, khalas, then you're not. How is this? That's why the ayah after أَهُمْ يَقْسِمُونَ رَحْمَةَ رَبِّكَ. They're the ones who are going to judge how the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants people is worth. And they're the ones who are going to give. They're the ones who are going to give value to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants His creation. This is up to them. نحن قسمنا بينهم معيشتهم في الحياة الدنيا. We just, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about Himself. I just divided sustenance, provision, wealth amongst them in this life. ورفعنا بعضهم فوق بعض درجات. And yes, I gave one person more than the other person in certain domains. ليتخذ بعضكم بعضا سخريا. So that each and every one of you can benefit from the other. Sukhriya means benefit, service. Sukhriya is mockery, is to make fun of something. Sukhriya is taskhir, is for someone to benefit for someone else. Musakhar lahu meaning is created or exists to serve. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining what they think is the only metric for value, for idham, for status and for importance, which is wealth. And He's saying, no, wealth is just something I distributed differently amongst people. So that the one who has a lot can give the one who has less, and the one who has less will work to help the person who has a lot. And there's because if we all had exactly the same amount of everything, if it was just, equally distributed amongst us, everyone had the exact same amount, there would be no reason for us to say marhaba to each other. We would never speak to one another at all. There would be no social. We would have started social distancing way before COVID, because there would be no point. Why would we care to speak to one another? If I had everything I needed, I would just wall up in front of my house, and I would never ever care who's next door, and we would just live in small little bubbles from the beginning. But the reason that we don't is because I need you, and sometimes you need me, and that need, that necessity, it dictates a specific relationship to be built, so that we actually start talking to one another and dealing with each other. This is the basis of how this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala views wealth in the world. He's explaining how this works. You don't get to taqsim rahmata rabbik. You can't divide or distribute the mercy and the compassion of Allah, the provision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one who divided wealth, and He divided it so that a doctor is going to need a mechanic, and the mechanic will need the doctor, and they'll both need a teacher, and the teacher will need an engineer, and the engineer will need a lawyer. Allah yahijna lil lawyers, inshallah. But you need these people. As you go through life, you're going to need different people with different professions. It's just a part of being alive. لِيَتَّخِذَ بَعْضُهُمْ بَعْضًا سُخْرِيًّا وَرَحْمَةُ رَبِّكَ. And this mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, خَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ, is better than whatever it is that they're accumulating in terms of their wealth. It's as if subhanahu wa ta'ala is redefining what value is based on. It's not as if He is redefining for them what value is, and how you judge success, and how you judge status. It's the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon one of His servants in terms of His compassion, in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the closeness, because the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, you look at him ethically, you look at him. What did Khadija say when he came running down the mountain? When he came running down the mountain, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he got very scared. He was shaking, he was so scared, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's okay to say that because he was scared. It's fine. Alayhi salatu wasalam, that night, of course he was going to be scared. He just saw something, he just met an extraterrestrial creature that he, without any preparation whatsoever in terms of what he was going to see. So he came down, so scared, he was shaking, it was so cold. So she covered him, and then she asked what happened. So he explained, and then he said, khashitu ala nafsi. I was scared for myself. I was scared. What he meant was, I was scared this was, I was going to be killed. I was going to die in an ugly way, alone in a mountain, as form of punishment, as form of ihlak, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanting to punish him for something. فَقَالَتْ كَلَّا وَاللَّهِ لَا يُخْزِيكَ اللَّهُ أَبَدًا. He said, no, Allah will never do that to you. He would never punish you for something in this life. إِنَّكَ, and then she starts counting things. Indeed, أنت لَتَصِلُ الرَّحِمِ وتعين ذا الحاجة وتحمل الكل وتغيث الملهوف وتعطي المعدوم وتقري الضيف. And she counts 6 or 7 things. Indeed, you strengthen the relationships of kinship with your relatives. You carry the one not literally, but figuratively here. You carry the one that can't take care of themselves, someone who can't seem to provide for himself, someone who doesn't seem to know how to manage money and is always just making mistakes and ruining their lives. You're the one, you carry them, you take care of them. You give the one who has nothing at all, you make sure that they have, you bring in guests and you take care of them. She starts talking about the things he does, alayhi salatu wasalam, with his life, and he does all the time, and that's how he lives his life. This is before he became Muslim. This is before he became the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That was his lifestyle. That was his lifestyle. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why he's Prophet. But they're saying, لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنُ عَلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنَ الْقَرْيَتَيْنِ عَظِيمٍ. You would have followed if the right person was given. Maybe if it was Walid, some of the Asbab al-Nuzul will point out what they said. If it was Walid ibn al-Mughira, or one of the sons of Abdi Alayl over in Al-Ta'if, then maybe we would have followed this. But it was given to Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was given to him, and he doesn't fit the criteria. He doesn't fit their criteria of what success is, which is a very silly one. So it's a useless one, but it's used today. It's still used today. It's still kind of how we judge people's success. It's their bank accounts. It's what success they've seen in business. And is it based on how much philanthropy they do? Is it really? Can you say honestly that that's how the success of people is judged? How much good that they do? Maybe. I don't see it to be that. I'm not, inshallah, that would be great if people were seen based on how much khair they do, how much time they spend serving other people, and how much time they give other people from their own leisure time and from their own effort. And that's what he did, alayhi salatu wasalam, all his life. But that didn't mean to the people at the time that he was a successful individual. So they had the jur'ah, and the qillat al-adab, and the su' al-adab, the bad manners, to actually say this. And the problem, imagine the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam doing da'wah. You say, it's great, but the problem, what the problem is? It's not what you're saying. The problem's you. We can't, based on what are we going to follow you? What is it that you have? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's in the Quran. He read this, alayhi salatu wasalam, and he taught people this. You have to read. Imagine when he reads this. وَقَالُوا لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ. He's referring to him. رَجُلٍ مِّنَ الْقَرْيَتَيْنِ عَظِيمٍ. Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is defending him, but that's what they're saying. Hurts to hear that. Especially when you make a choice, a conscious choice, that money and wealth is not your goal. You're not running. It's not what you're seeking. You're not trying to accumulate a lot of it. You're not trying to put that together. You're not seeking going up that ladder of political status and political leadership. He didn't care for that, alayhi salatu wasalam. He wasn't interested in being Sayyid Quraysh, even though his grandfather was Abdul Muttalib, and his uncle was Abu Talib. That wasn't his goal, though. It's just not something that interested him, alayhi salatu wasalam. That means he's not successful. That means he's not worthy of Risalah, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Not at all. Not at all. Maybe in the eyes of, again, the problem of what this surah is trying to explain. If you're going to see the world in this very tunnel-visioned, unidimensional metric, then it's going to be a problem. You're going to misjudge everything. You're going to make a lot of bad decisions, and you're going to see people in the wrong, just going to see them in the wrong light, because what are you basing? You're basing it on the wrong thing. It has nothing to do with wealth. نحن قسمنا بينهم معيشتهم في الحياة الدنيا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who provides, and He provides in different levels to different people. This doesn't mean, and anything I'm saying today, by the way, or in this whole surah, is an encouragement of you to be poor, or not to have what you want, or not to work really hard to achieve a comfortable financial status in your life. Nothing I'm saying is directed towards that at all. What I'm trying to say is that whether you have a lot or you have a little, is not the only or main factor of saying whether you were successful in this life or not. That's what this surah is trying to say. That there's more than that metric to judge it. There's more to value than just how much you've got and what financial benefits you bring to the world. وَرَحْمَةُ رَبِّكَ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. And the compassion and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better than whatever they're accumulating and putting together, whatever they're trying to put together. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, إِذَا رَحِمَكَ اللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows you His mercy within these blessed nights of Ramadan, if you are shown His compassion Jalla Jalaluhu and His mercy, and He showers you with that, then really there's nothing that you've missed. You've missed out on nothing in this world. And if that's not something that makes its way to you, it doesn't matter how much wealth you have. You can continue to have it for as long as you want. And actually, what I'm saying right now is exactly what we're going to recite in the verses to come. Before I do that, يقول صلى الله عليه وسلم, I like this hadith, I think it's a good place for us to narrate it. يقول تعس عبد الخميصة تعس عبد الخميلة تعس عبد القطيفة تعس عبد الدرهم تعس عبد الدينار. So very the slave of the money, the slave of clothing, the slave of wealth is very miserable. Ta'is, this person is very unhappy. تعس وانتكس وإذا شيك فلن تقش. That's what he said عليه الصلاة والسلام. May this person be upset. May this person never find any way to go forward. And if somehow a shoka, you know shoka? What is it, a needle or thorn? So if a thorn goes into him, may it never leave. May this person, this is what he's saying عليه الصلاة والسلام. As a reminder, for this person to realize what they're going. And then he would say, طوبى لعبد آخذ, same hadith. طوبى لعبد آخذ بعنان فرسه أشعث رأسه مغبرة قدماه. His head is he hasn't combed his hair in a while, and he's dirty from top to bottom, just filled with sand. إن كان في الحراسة ففي الحراسة وإن كان في الساقة ففي الساقة كان في الساقة. Meaning, if he's put on guard, he's on guard. If he's put to give people to serve water, then he serves water. Wherever they put him, wherever this person is put to serve, they go and they do their job. The Prophet ﷺ, طوبى له. This is the person who's going to be happy. This is the right person. The person who آخذ بعنان فرسه. This person took their horse, or their camel, and went fi sabilillah, and is struggling with all of what comes with that, and whatever this person is put to serve, they serve for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just saying the difference. There are those who are going to run after money, and there are those who are going to go and find that where their piece of the puzzle fits in the service of this ummah, and they're going to dedicate themselves to serving the ummah in that fashion, in that manner. Sometimes the way that you're going to serve the ummah is through wealth. Sometimes it's going to be through wealth. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a lot of money, and you're going to use that money to build things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like the Sahaba did. Just like this is, most of the names that you know were not poor per se. Like they weren't people who didn't have wealth. No, most of them actually did. Whether we talk about Abu Bakr or Uthman, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, they had money. And the story of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when he went on he was a businessman, so he went on his caravan, and when he came back, it was a time where it was very people didn't have a lot, and Medina wasn't doing well. So radiallahu anhu, when he came home, people started coming and asking asking for sadaqat, basically, from what he brought. So before he was able to go inside, people were waiting at the door and begging him for help, so he started to give. And then there were so many people asking that he ended up radiallahu anhu giving everything that he had brought back. Like literally his whole tijara, he gave it away, plus the camels that the tijara was carried upon. He entered his home with nothing. He enters his house, he closes the door. Before he can go inside and change, someone knocks on the door. So he goes and opens. فقال يا صاحب رسول الله هبني, give me something. I see people walked away with something. Give me something. فقال ما بقي عندي. I literally have nothing. I sent everything away. فقال ترد سائلة, you're going to send me back with nothing? فدخل أبو بكر. So he looked what he had inside in terms of clothes. So he gave from the clothing that he had inside of his house. This continued to happen for the next 15 minutes until he gave away all the clothing he had inside his house. And finally, when he had nothing left, he went in to have something to eat in a shower. Another person knocks on the door. Same thing. Habni, give me something. Ya sahib Rasulillah. Give me something. Well, he said, I have nothing left. I literally have nothing left. At that moment, you would think, قال ما حاشاك ترد سائلة, you're going to send, you would never send anyone back with nothing. قال فخلع قميصه رضي الله عنه. So he took off his own clothing and gave it to him through the door. And he had nothing left to wear. He goes in, someone else knocks on the door. This time they're not asking. This time it's Bilal ibn Rabah saying, تعال إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم wants you. He's waiting for you in the masjid. يقول أبو بكر فما وجدت ما ألبس. I couldn't find anything to wear. فوجد بجادا, a haysack. So he found a haysack. So he wore a haysack, and it was very common for Bedouins to wear haysacks. People were so poor back in that day that if you saw someone walking around in a haystack, it wasn't like, oh my God, I need to take it. No, it was just a lot of people wear haystacks. It was very common. But it wasn't common for Abu Bakr to wear a haystack. To see him like that was very uncommon. So and the Prophet ﷺ called upon him, and he wasn't, if the Prophet ﷺ says, come, you're going to go, regardless of whether you have something to wear or not, you're going to go to the Prophet ﷺ. So he wore the haystack and he went to the Prophet ﷺ. قال فدخل مستحيا, he enters the masjid and he's very self-conscious of the way he looks and how he's dressed, and haystacks don't really cover the awrah properly, so he's barely, so he sits beside the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ turns to him, قال يا أبا بكر ألا إن جبريل قد أتاني يقول إن ربك راض عنك في صنيعك. Oh Abu Bakr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel to tell me that he is happy with you, with what you've done. فهل أنت يا أبا بكر راض عن ربك? How about you, Abu Bakr? Are you happy with your Lord? Are you content with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done for you? يقول فبكى أبو بكر, and he began to cry. يقول رضي الله عنه وكيف لا أرضى عن ربي? How could I not be happy with what my Lord has given me in my life? And then the Prophet ﷺ began to recite sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from Surah Al-A'la, وسيجنبها الأتقى الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى ولسوف يرضى ولسوف, and you'll be satisfied. If you're not dressed well now, you'll be satisfied one day. صلى الله عليه وسلم. نعم عفوا سورة الليل سورة الليل سورة الليل صلى الله عليه وسلم. And this is how they judge themselves. This is another story, since we brought something up. Uthman ibn Affan, later on during the Khilafah of Abu Bakr, he also went on a caravan, and he was someone who had a lot of wealth, radiallahu anhu. And when he came back, something similar, Medina was going through a little bit of a financial hiccup. So all of the tujjar, all of the businessmen, merchants of Medina came to Uthman's house and said, صاحب رسول الله بيعنا, you need to sell us what you've got so we can sell people, because people are waiting, people need wealth. Give us, before you do anything, let's take care of this. فقال نعم بكم تشترون? How much will you take what I've got? فقال نعطيك بكل درهم درهما. We'll give you for each, we'll give you a profit of 1 dirham for each, $1 for dollar for everything that you have. فقال لقد أوتيت خيرا من هذا. No, I've been offered more than this. قالوا نعطيك درهمين. Then we'll push it up to 2. He says, nope, that I have more, 3, 4, 5, 6, and after 6 and 7. قالوا من هذا الذي عرض عليك ونحن تجار المدينة كلها. Who's offering you more? All of the merchants of Medina are here. Who is this person who's offering? There's no one else to offer you more. فقال لقد أعطوني بكل درهم 10. I've been given with each dirham 10. So you match 10 and take it. قالوا 10 كثير. We can't afford 10. But then they understood what he meant, رضي الله عنه وارضاه. He wasn't talking about a merchant of dunya that he was looking into. فقال ألا إني قد وهبتها للمسلمين. This is a hibah, this is a gift to the Muslims. So they took the full caravan and they distributed it to the people of Medina, رضي الله عنهم وارضاه. It's easy to be generous if wealth is not the ultimate or only or main goal of why you go and you accumulate it. But if it is, that's a different story. And that's why they said, the Prophet ﷺ, that's what they said about him, what they said. لولا نزل هذا القرآن على رجل من القريتين عظيم. If it was given to someone who had greatness, صلى الله عليه وسلم, ومن أعظم منه صلى الله عليه وسلم. But they just, that's their own loss. And the beauty of this ayah is that it shows you also the following, that if you somehow have this skewered judgment, you lose. Like you lose out on something beautiful. They lost out, right? They missed the opportunity to follow him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because of this bad way of seeing things. So it's not just that you're harming the person and people are being judged in a wrong way, but if you see things just based on wealth or just through materialism, then you actually miss out on opportunities. And how many people have come, how many young men come for khutbah of a person and they say no because he doesn't have wealth, and they're missing out on a gem. And how many men judge a lady based on the way she looks and they don't go and ask for her, and they miss out on someone who would have made their lives very, very good. made them extremely happy, given them a great life, a great family, because we're just we're using the wrong judgment, and you miss out on a lot of goodness and a lot of happiness in life. So don't allow that to be the case for yourself in your life. Don't allow one factor to be the reason that you accept or refuse anything really, or judge something in a way that is improper. We read the point after. وَلَوْلَا أَن يَكُونَ النَّاسُ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً لَجَعَلْنَا لِمَن يَكْفُرُ بِالرَّحْمَنِ لِبُيُوتِهِمْ سُقُفًا من فضة ومعارج عليها يظهرون ولبيوتهم أبوابا وسررا عليها يتكئون وزخرفا وإن كل ذلك لما متاع الحياة الدنيا والآخرة عند ربك للمتقين ولولا أن يكون الناس أمة واحدة. Alright, we'll just leave that for a second and I'll tell you what he said after that. Or what it means is, if it wasn't for the fact that the human race would turn into one ummah, if it wasn't for the fact that all of the human race would turn into one ummah, just we'll all be exactly the same, لَجَعَلْنَا لِمَنْ يَكْفُرُ بِالرَّحْمَنِ, we would make sure that everyone who disbelieves in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so if you disbelieve, immediately you are given لِبُيُوتِهِمْ, for your home, سُقُفًا مِّن فِضَّةٍ, the roof of your home, the ceiling will be made of silver. وَمَعَارِجَ عَلَيْهَا يَظْهَرُونَ, it would be more than one level. The house would be a couple of stories, and you would have ways to actually elevate yourself, and like elevators. Ma'arij means elevators. It is a time when elevators weren't a thing, but you would find elevators to take you up to the different stories within your home. وَلِبُيُوتِهِمْ, and for your homes as well. أَبْوَابًا وَسُرُرًا, large steel doors. وَسُرُرًا, and a lot of beds and recliners. عَلَيْهَا يَتَّكِئُونَ, for your leisure and for you to lie back on and enjoy yourself. وَزُخْرُفًا, and a lot of shiny things that have no essence to them. وَزُخْرُفًا, and a lot of shiny stuff. A lot of things you can plug into a wall and make a whirring noise. That stuff that we like. And just a lot of appliances and it just looks great. It means nothing, but a lot of it is there. وَزُخْرُفًا وَإِن كُلُّ ذَلِكَ, and indeed all of that, لَمَّا مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا, is only just the enjoyment or the pleasure of this low life, not dunya, al-hayat al-dunya. And there's a difference in the Quran. It's an important difference between dunya and al-hayat al-dunya. Dunya is the world, and the world is not a negative thing. Dunya is not a horrible thing. Without dunya, we wouldn't have. Where else is the Quran going to be revealed? Where else is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam going to live? Dunya, this is what it's not. It's a hayat al-dunya that's negative. To live a life based on lower instincts, and just living to eat and drink and reproduce and enjoy provision. And instead of the other way around, where you're just using this, but you have a purpose that inshallah is higher than that. But hayat al-dunya is where this is the goal of life. So what does he mean by, if it wasn't for the fact that the human race would become one ummah, he would have done this. What it means is that if it wasn't for the fact that everyone would perform kufr, and the full human race would just say, خلاص كفرنا then. This is the deal. You give us buyut min fidda, suqufan, ma'arij, zukhrufa. We're all. He's saying subhanahu wa ta'ala, unfortunately, the way that you think prevents me from doing this. If I knew that there was enough people who had the right judgment, I would have said, okay, everyone kafir, take as much as dunya as you want. Just fill up what you need. You want big homes? Here are big homes. You want a couple of stories and a lot of shiny things, zukhrufa, stuff that look nice, and take it. But if I said that, everyone would just perform kufr and no one would believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not offered that way. But that's what he's saying subhanahu wa ta'ala here. That's what the problem is. Because unfortunately, the majority of people, this is how they look at the world. Having a nice big house is the only metric of success. It is the ultimate goal. Having something right now that you want is more important than maybe waiting a little bit for what's going to come next, or for the next phase, or for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has hidden for you, or for a form of pleasure that will come Yawm al-Qiyamah that is much more meaningful, but a little bit different in nature than what you can get in this dunya. But that's literally, and this is where the word Zukhruf, as you could see, came in the surah. The surah was named after the word, or because of this concept. But this is what he's saying, subhanahu wa ta'ala. The problem is human beings were just too taken, distracted, preoccupied with this Zukhruf, with all of this for shiny stuff, having a new car and big house and just owning things, possessions and materialistic. It's just what we want. That's what we want. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, if it wasn't for the fact you would all leave, I would have given it. Here, just take it. Take it. It's an endless pit. It's an endless pit. There's no fulfillment in it at all. There's nothing in it. It's zukhruf. It's shiny but essenceless. There's no essence in it. And when you take it all in, it's meaningless and it grants you no fulfillment at all. You are not happier if you have more. Studies today, and this is not like something that you just make. Multiple studies today have looked at the fact that after a certain annual salary, money offers you zero improvement in quality of life. And the number isn't crazy. Like it's around 70, 75, 80,000 tops. Of course, with inflation, maybe it's a little bit more now, but it's still less than a 6-digit number. After a certain amount of money, that's it. No matter how much you add, your quality of life does not change. Meaning they've looked at a large number of the population, and the more money you give, people don't seem to be happier. Well, let's see if we give, maybe if it's millions then. Maybe it's hundreds of millions. If I give it 1 billion, they're not happier. These people are just as miserable as the next person. What is it? After a certain amount of money, it doesn't bring you happiness. What's that certain amount? That certain amount is iktifa, is to have enough. Is to have enough to take care of yourself, to take care of your family, so you're not hungry, so you're not in debt, you're not waiting for someone to give you something so that you can have ends meet. If you have enough, then everything after that is not making you happier. It's an endless pit. It's empty. It's empty. We all have that hole inside of us that just keeps on asking. As the Prophet ﷺ said, لو كان لابن آدم واد من ذهب لتمنى أن يكون له واديا. If you were the human being who was given a valley of gold, a full valley, not a little trunk hidden in the backyard, a full valley of gold, you would have wished there were 2 of them. This is the human being. We want more and more and more, and there's no end to it. There's no end to how much the nafs wants. It wants everything. It wants to own all of what God owns. That's what's inside of you. Imagine the potential of this creature that is so ambitious that it wants everything, not 1 or 2, everything. And this is the reality of the human being. So you tame the beast, and you teach that there's no fulfillment there. It doesn't make a difference, and you weren't created for that, and that's not where you find value, and that's not what's going to make you happy, even though it may seem. But the nafs follows zukhruf. It follows that what looks shiny, even though on the inside it's meaningless. The nafs doesn't know though. The soul doesn't know that. It has no way to know because it's building itself based on instinct, and it's making these judgments just based on instincts. Look at all the mammals. You'll find that there are creatures anything that looks good on the I'm not going to go into zoology and the different studies they've done with creatures, but if you show animals things that are a bit shiny that look good, they can't see the difference. Animals don't have the ability to differentiate between what is real and what is unreal if it just looks good enough or looks similar enough. They get and there are a lot of examples of this, statues of animals, and you'll find male animals thinking they're females and trying to mate with a statue of it's just a shiny statue of something that looks similar to what they're, because they don't have the ability to see the difference. And the nafs is the same thing, where it's mammalian, it's very simple. So it follows everything that shines, and it thinks everything that shines is gold, and it thinks that gold is the most important thing, and that's what you need. But it isn't, and you know that. Like as a human, the person, we know it's not. We know whether you have the newest phone or not, it's not going to make you a better person. It's not going to make you a happier person. It's not, you know that, but you want it anyway. And it's okay to want it, but there's a difference between wanting something and valuing yourself based on whether you have it or not, and valuing others based on whether they have it or not, and then building all of your life goals based on making sure that you have it. When really life should be planned for a different reason, with the hope of achieving something different. We cannot deny that spiritually we have plummeted over the last century. You cannot deny that. We cannot deny that we don't have that anymore. We've lost our spirituality. We've lost our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by far. The general level of connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has come down significantly within the ummah, very clearly, very obviously amongst the larger population. Because there's so much sustenance, there's so many possessions, and people are so distracted and preoccupied with them that they stand in prayer and they just can't function, they can't connect, right? It's all based on time. You're here, I have to do 8. It has to be 8 rak'ah. Why 8? I don't know why 8 so, but again, it's just a materialistic way of judging it. Salah is seen based on a number. It has to be this number of rak'ahs. If it's not more, no, just 8. It doesn't matter if the 8 takes. It's a very bad way of judging. Again, same problem. You're judging it based on number of rak'ahs. Why not based on essence? Why not based on what you were able to achieve in those rak'ahs and what closeness you had to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We have come, we're far away. When you look at the Muslims and how they lived with the Prophet ﷺ and how connected they were to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how meaningful everything he said to them ﷺ was, and how they continued to thrive on that, and how that was so, we're far away from that. And the reason is just too much of zukhruf, and too much value in zukhruf in our eyes, and too much pursuit of zukhruf, the pursuit of zukhruf. Maybe that's the name of our movie. The pursuit of zukhruf, you're after something that's not, there's nothing, it's empty. It's a mirage. You just keep on following it, and then there's nothing at the end. You get there, and وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَعْمَالُهُمْ كَسَرَابٍ بِقِيعَةٍ يَحْسَبُهُ الظَّمْآنُ مَاءً حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءَهُ لَمْ يَجِدْهُ شَيْئًا وَوَجَدَ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ فَوَفَّاهُ حِسَابَهُ. The disbeliever, the way they live their life is like kasarab, it's like a mirage in the middle of a desert. They think there's water, they keep on walking after it, they keep on pursuing it, and then they come to it and there's nothing there. But they do find God there, waiting for them. And then He judges them and tells them what they did. Wallahu sari'ul hisab. And it's a quick judgment because the whole basis of the life was wrong. It was all built on a false philosophy that didn't mean anything, that wasn't valuing things the way they needed to be valued. And that's what He's saying subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of these verses. If it wasn't for the fact that you would all leave the deen, alhamdulillah that He didn't do this subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, there's quite a difference. The word zina doesn't exist here in Surah Az-Zukhruf. It's not talked about because zina is not looked at something negative. As He says subhanahu wa ta'ala, Surah Al-A'raf, قُلْ مَنْ حَرَّمَ زِينَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي أَخْرَجَ لِعِبَادِهِ وَالطَّيِّبَاتِ مِنَ الرِّزْقِ. And zina means all the beauty, and it has essence to it. So the word zina has some degree of essence because it has beauty to it, and that beauty, whether it's visible or it's auditory or it's even something that touches the soul, none of that is going to be haram. Zukhruf is a specific word that just is referring to something that literally looks good but has no essence, meaning it's just distracting. And these two words are very different in how they're used in the Quran. And you get to, you can assign whatever you want, or you can assign what you think zina is and what you think zukhruf is. But this is why He didn't do it, subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the kafir doesn't have a lot of wealth. Because if every kafir was given wealth, then most people would choose that way. But He didn't do it that way, subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the hope that people will realize that in kullu dhalika lamma mata'ul hayatid dunya. This is all just enjoyment of this low instinct-based life. If you could just realize that al-akhirah 'inda rabbika lil-muttaqin, that the hereafter, in the judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as far as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned, is going to be for the pious. It's going to be for those who ethically and behaviorally and in terms of their connection and mindfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones who are going to be successful yawm al-qiyamah. And that's how value is going to be distributed on that day. I'll stop with that and we'll continue inshallah next weekend. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakumullahu khairan wa barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.